At this step, we will create some types for our family. Let's go to the Family Types window. First type is formed in Family by default. Its name is indicated in the upper drop-down list of the window we have just opened. We can activate the New Type command to create a new standard size. We can also rename existing types and delete them, but we cannot delete the only one existing type. First, let's rename our type and call it as D1. We should also indicate some values of defining parameters in the type name. They are the parameters for the sake of which it's worth assigning this or that type to a family instance. In our case, there will be the opening dimensions such as width and height, as well as the option of the door opening, left or right. For example, door D1 will have overall dimensions of 2100 mm by 700 mm. Let's add these numbers to the type name and indicate the opening option behind the brackets. For example, R is the right-hand opening. Now let's set the parameters values in accordance with what we have specified in the type name. The height is 2100 mm, the width is 700 mm, and the opening option is right. Other parameter values for most of the types will be the same. It makes sense to set them right away when creating the first type, in order not to change them later for each new type. In particular, let's replace the values for all the parameters defining our door materials. Let's start with the door panel material. Select the value line, and a button with an ellipsis will appear. You can open the material browser with this button. Each Revit file contains a default list of materials. In this case, we can see some standard materials for the roofs and walls and so on. They don't really suit us. Therefore, we will create the new ones. We can do it using the Create and Duplicate Material button. There are two commands in the drop-down list. You can select one of the materials and copy it, and then edit that copy. Or you can create a completely new material. So let's do it. The material was called Default New Material. We can change the name through the Identity tab on the right side of the Material Browser window. You can also do it by right-clicking on the line with the material name and selecting the Rename option. Let's call this material as Wood. You can fill in the other parameters values on the Identity tab. If you do it, you can use them in the material takeoff. I will not do it now. It is much more important for us to set the graphic parameters, such as the color of shading, for example. I will assign a brown color to it. I will not assign the patterns. Let's also change the settings in the Appearance tab. We can also see the parameters responsible for the selected material graphics here. That is, our material has two sets of graphic settings. In this case, we use the parameters from the Graphics tab on the views with visual styles such as wireframe, hidden line, shaded, and consistent colors. The parameters from the Appearance tab are used to create the photorealistic renders, as well as when you activate the realistic visual style in a particular view. There is another interesting point to pay attention to when creating materials. In contrast to the Identity and Graphics tab settings belonging directly to the selected material, the Appearance tab displays the special asset parameters assigned to this material, but this asset can also be assigned to other materials. We can add two other assets such as physical and thermal. If you change any parameter here, then it will change for all the materials the same asset is assigned to. The number above the palm sign displays how many materials the selected asset is assigned to. If this number equals to 0, then there are no such materials. We can change the asset settings without affecting any other materials besides the selected one. If we see a number different from 0, and at the same time we want to specify its material to be different from all the other materials, then we should first copy the asset using the special duplicates this asset command. We can also replace an asset with a different one using the replace this asset command. The asset browser will open. You can find pre-configured assets suitable for us through the search. For example, I will select the walnut asset by double-clicking on it. The material we created will be assigned at the door panel material. Click OK. Let's create a new material for the door handle. Let's call it stainless steel. Set the color of shading on the Graphics tab. And select the asset from the Appearance tab. You can find different types of metals here. Click OK. Glass material is standard. I will select it and change the color of shading to light gray. This material has transparency. All materials have been assigned. Press the OK button. I'll open the floor plan. You can reduce the size of the door frame. It is too large for such opening dimensions. I will specify parameter values for the thickness and width of the door frame. They will be 70 mm each. We will also change the door panel thickness. Let's define the value of this parameter through the formula door frame thickness -20. Now let's create another type. You can copy the name of the existing one. I used the rename type command to display the name and copy it. Let's create a new type and pass the name. I will correct it a little. In this type, the door opening will be on the left. The value of the corresponding parameter should also be changed. There are two types now, and you can freely switch between them. Click OK. Both family types use glass door panel. Perhaps we will make our small doors without glass, and we'll use the door panel with glass for wider doors. In this way, we can create any number of family types. But if there are lots of them, we will have to spend a lot of time on it. There is another option for the types creation. You can use the Microsoft Excel table.